I jump on for a little bit?
Well, we appreciate you having here. We see our friend Tom in the house. I'm looking at Tom on the live stream as well. Debbie, one of the things we were just talking about, we were talking about. Do you know what the term? I'm gonna see if you guys are you familiar with the term filling your funnel?
I've heard it.
Is why my video is hourglassing right now. If you're watching the live stream, we talk about all those things and try to troubleshoot them. Calm. So one of the things we were talking about, me and Tom, is this idea of that all of a sudden when you get busy and then you decide forget about your business, forget about trying to sell new business, meet new clients. You're in the weeds, you're in the moment, and you drop all those things in the future. And then 6 months from now, you have no business, or 4 months from now. And so, one of the things we talk about a lot is filling the funnel. How do you get new leads? How do you make sure that people are moving forward in your sales process? How do you know that? So let's Tom, what say you on that subject?
You know, I was just sorting out some a little technical glitch we had going on here. So give me 1 second to get myself situated. I mean, so what we were talking about right before we got on is, you know, I as somebody who you know, kind of started out as an entrepreneur coming from, you know, having spent my career working for other people. We lost Dominick on the live stream. His image has gone dark. So let's give him a second. But anyway, as somebody who, you know, started as an entrepreneur coming from having spent, you know, a career 17 years working for other people, and on the, you know, the implementation side, I guess, the operation side in production, never in the sales side, it's sometimes really concerning for me. I have a tendency to fall into this cycle of like this feast and famine cycle, right? So like I will have time, so I will spend a lot of time doing you know, business development work, and I will develop a whole bunch of business, and then I'll get really busy executing on delivering on that business, and then I will not have anything in the pipeline, and then I will hit that famine period again and have to scramble and develop business. And it seems like you know, obviously I know there's ways to overcome this, but as somebody who sales doesn't come naturally to me, and I don't have the background, the sort of training in sales, to kind of have that rolling around in the back of my mind, it's something that I struggle with, and I'm sure a lot of other people struggle with too. So that's kind of what I wanted to bring up today and talk about, Dom.
Tom, I love the subject. And so for me, I did cut my teeth in sales, from yellow paid sales to insurance to pharmaceuticals to being out bidding jobs with my dad. So it's something so natural. Like my friend Harry, I consider sales a beautiful dance. Like so many people have these negative connotations of it. I wish our friend Harry Spate was here to tackle the subject too, because it's everybody's in sales, whether you're talking to your children and trying to get them to go to bed at night or eat their broccoli or whatever it is. It sells. And so many people think of it as a negative way. It sells, it's service. It's just doing good, offering something you believe in to somebody else. So let's dig in on that. Debbie, where are you at on the sales process? Does it scare you? Does it something you avoid? Go on.
Yes, it does scare me because it's really not my background, and so it is something that I am learning and kind of trying to educate myself more and more. As an author, I'm always trying to find ways of obviously selling the book, getting my message out. So, I just try different things. I observe what kind of posts work and what doesn't work, and even trying to change up the message a little bit, because mine is on gaslighting and domestic abuse. So it's a dark subject. So trying to find ways to attract it. It's a challenge, but one that I work on every day. I'm complete.
Thank you, Debbie. Do you have a funnel, Debbie, where let's say you say, I'm going to try to get into this place. I'm going to try to get into this place, but I'm also speaking here. Maybe I can sell books at this consignment shop, something like that. Is there big, little, medium in between?
Probably all of it. Again, because I have a day job that actually pays the bills. So getting my message out, this is more of a mission and a passion of mine. So as I can carve in the time, that's when I kind of work on it. So I also have to be cognizant of that, because my time is limited to some extent of the results. So, you can only put in, or you're only going to get as much as you put in, so to speak. So hope that answers it.
Thank you, Debbie. All right, we're talking sales today, so we're switching it up right now. I am going to hit you guys up on CapCut, YouTube, and I want to know how people are watching YouTube. So, like, I watch how-tos on my phone. I watch long form video, like I'll sit down and watch the Nilk Boys, or if I'm going to New York or on a trip somewhere, I'll watch half-hour videos on that subject on the TV. So I wonder if there's a difference in how you guys watch YouTube as well. So I wanted to touch on that. But we're talking this sales first. So Julie, sales funnel, does it scare you? Do you have any tips for us? What do you got?
Well, I think, I used to be so adverse to the word funnel, but there is use to it, because once you stop the momentum, people forget about you. If you don't have something to offer, or some event, or a book, people just stop. And on Debbie's point and question, and talking about her selling books, what I have found in terms of selling books is the most powerful thing is getting on stages and speaking in front of audiences, because that's where you capture the know, like, and trust. Every time I speak in front of an audience, boom, I see an instant increase in sales of books. But as we know, and maybe Dom wants to correct me, you're not going to get rich off of a book. I'm going to say that. I'm putting that out in the universe. But you're not going to get rich off a book. It's about your brand and building your brand. And even as much as you may have a distaste for speaking, if you're scared of speaking in public, it is a great way to build your brand, build your funnels, build the momentum, and keep that brand fresh and in front of everybody's mind. So I hope that helped. Thanks, guys.
Julie, thank you. I like the book Building the Brand. I believe in that 100%. Like, a lot of people will say, like, and you know this term, Julie, I've heard, like, the book is a business card for your business. Okay, well, and why can't you get rich off a book? I mean, but it's a shitty reason to write a book.
Who do you know that's gotten rich off of writing a book? I want to know. Please tell me, Dom.
Who knows? Somebody that hit. Did somebody hit? Because all of a sudden you get on Ellen, you go viral or something
That's
like
true.
that. It can be done, but it is a shitty business plan. We know somebody that has been on Oprah Winfrey that comes into our
Michael?
rooms. Yep, Michael Ozier sold 3.8 million books or something like that. He got on Oprah. It is not a great business plan, but it does happen. So I have a friend who sold a peanut butter company for, I think it was 247 million, 286 million or something like that. His peanut butter was on Oprah's Favorite Things. He did a lot of other things great, but it didn't hurt that he was on Oprah's Favorite Things. So there is sometimes you can go in today's world, you can go viral, you can hit, but and I'm sorry to say that word, 10 times, but it's a shitty business plan. Speaking, like I got authors.
I've never heard you swear so much, Dominic.
Yeah, sorry, I'm wound up early. I got authors that get paid, $10,000, $15,000 to go speak somewhere, and then they sell 300 books when they get off a stage. They work those they get those speaking gigs because they have the book and things like that. So,
Well, the book on itself, on its face, you're not going to become a billionaire unless, there are those random circumstances, but it is a shitty business plan if you think you're going to write a book and it's going to, on its face, on its own, you're going to make tons of money. It's not something that should be done.
okay, but now, so if we were talking sales with this, we would say, okay, well, here's my plan. I'm going to, like Julie said, I'm going to go do speeches. Well, I'm going to speak everywhere I can, whether that's Rotaries, chamber events, free events, the health and wellness center. I'm going to speak there. I'm going to sell my books afterwards. Okay, that's one thing. Then we could say, oh, I'm going to try to sell 50 books and 100 books to organizations. Okay, I'm going to work towards selling 50 and 100 books to organizations. I'm going to call on people, hospital systems. I'm going to call on colleges that might bring my book in. Then at the same time, I'm going to go for the home run, and I'm going to keep texting Ellen and whoever else it is and say, hey, have me on your show. Have me on your show. I could say this, and this. Your audience would love this, and this. So, okay, let's continue this before I'll go off a half hour and get all agitated, swear more times. Go on, Tom. What do you want to add?
Well, so I have a quick question since we're already down the book rabbit hole a little bit. I have a question, and because as everybody knows, I have a book coming out later this year, right? At the end of the summer in September. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm in the process of getting endorsements, right? And so I was curious if anybody in the room had suggestions or tips or stories of how they got sort of the most valuable or the highest level endorsements that they have for their books.
Do you mean editorial reviews, Tom?
I think he means endorsements in the front or on the back of the book.
Okay, got it. It's usually someone you've had history with. If you think about who you've had history with, and the highest echelon, the biggest audience. So we're putting out a book in the next week, and he asked the General of the United States to write the foreword. So he got it, but there had to be some sort of relationship before. We're doing another book that's coming out this summer, and we're pitching former Secretary of State to write the foreword. So it's about who you've had relationships with and who would provide the biggest audience and give the most credibility for your book. And you haven't asked me yet, Tom, but I'm happy to do it.
Right. I'm not asking, thanks, Julie. I appreciate that. I'm not asking who should I ask. I'm asking, how did you get the biggest endorsement? So obviously relationships is one answer, right? Pre-existing relationships. That's a clear answer. Anybody else have any ideas or stories of how you kind of went for a moonshot and managed to get an endorsement from somebody that helped you out?
Tom, one of the things too, you can reach out to people that you think might want to attach to your ship. So I had worked with an author early on, and I forget, it was one of these guys. He got an endorsement from, like, I'm not going to say it was Dale Carnegie or something like that, but it was one of these top guys that was about 75 years old. And he just sent an email. And now here's a young guy just starting out in the business of inspiration and motivation. He was, creating a space on social media and stuff. He just sent right to the guy, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, just like that, they sent an endorsement back that quick. So sometimes, contact, send, what does it hurt? And how can you help them? Our buddy Swifty, who's not here right now, Brian P. Swift does a lot of work with Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz is a former Notre Dame's, like, one of their most historic coaches. He sends notes to Lou. He met Lou one time at a meeting. Now Lou sends them helmets, Lou sends them autograph stuffs, Lou sends them quotes for books, but it was just that one quick meeting. And now Lou sends them stuff all the time, like really on like 4 of the books we've done together, it has Lou Holt's endorsements on it. And he's always like Brian sends something to his team. Lou sends something back real quick. So, okay, we're going to keep on going here. Not the smartest guys in the room. You're not getting me off this subject of how you watch YouTube. Also, CapCut. I like it. You guys told me about CapCut. We're talking cells, all these things. Prof T, we're coming to you. Prof T, I like this picture. Prof T, and I love Prof T's videos about one. I saw her 2 minutes the other day. I enjoyed it. But Prof T, I also like when she's getting her hair done and she shows us like the color and things like that. I'm in. It's so authentic. So go on, Prof T.
Good morning. Hi, everybody. Love this room. It's a great topic. I'm kind of listening to everyone as they speak. It's hard to follow Julie Loken. Yikes. When she speaks, I'm like writing notes and then I'm like, oh, I don't have anything to add. But thank you for the props on the hair. Yeah, the hair things seem to get a lot of connections. The before and after of my crazy, wild, crazy lady hair, and then to the tamed, cut, professionally blown out and dried. I don't know. It just seems to be a thing. But I am proud of my 2 minutes with Teresa because, Tom, if you remember, you gave me some advice a couple weeks ago, and I took it to heart. And I am really, really doing much better. I think that I feel more comfortable. I learned how to edit my own. Thank you, Julie Loken. I tried to figure out how to do my own editing, and I did, and I'm getting better. It isn't taking me an hour anymore. I don't know how to use the sound thing here, but screaming, cheering, clapping for Prof T, because that's the hardest part for me, is when a 2 minutes with Teresa takes an hour, but I'm getting better and I'm loving the content. And listen, let me just tell you my thoughts here about selling. I've been saying it for years. I just spoke recently about the psychology of sales. And I'm always starting out with, what do you tell yourself when you wake up in the morning? Do I want to get out of bed or not? Do I want to stay in this warm, cozy bed? Because here in Philly, it's still chilly. And then you are getting out of bed and you're saying, do I want coffee? Do I want a Pop-Tart? Or do I want oatmeal? Or do I just want to skip breakfast? Or I want to stop at Wawa? You're always selling. You're always negotiating. So look at selling as negotiating. You're not selling. I mean, you're selling, but you're more negotiating. There's a need for having a healthy breakfast as opposed to skipping breakfast, which is not beneficial. So if you can provide a benefit and show just cause why they need your service, I think you're good to go. But I'm going to just land with this, you guys. It's all about being influential. We are all influencing people every single day. Now, of course, if we can get on Oprah, it's always my dream to get on Oprah. I mean, back in my early days, my dream was to get on Oprah, meet Oprah. And then I meet Michael Ozier, and he was like the closest thing to Oprah I'll ever know. So having Oprah in your corner is great. Having anybody who has high visibility is great. Having Julie Loken in your corner is great. So you definitely want to remember that you can't do it by yourself. And I'll land with this. I cannot stress enough about relationships. Gone are the days where you just walk into a store or somebody's office or a doctor's office and hand a card and say, you need my services. Those days, my friends, are over. It is now more about relationships, because for everything that I do, there's 10 people, minimum 10 people who do it better than me on a dime. So it is about building relationships, showing just cause by someone needs your services, and having the ability to be face to face. Can't stress it enough. Network, network, network. I've met so many amazing people. They may not want my services, but they know somebody who does. And it's been network after network after network, the same networking event 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Face to face it works and it helps you to up level. So can't stress that enough. Networking, become a person of influence, and make yourself visible. Thank you, Prof T in Philly, where, yeah, it's chilly.
Prof T, how do you become a good networker? Tell us about the networking process. What's this mean to a layman?
Oh, I love this topic because this is what I've been doing so often now with young entrepreneurs. They don't know how to network. Even folks who've been networking for years and years. Networking is a very significant system to connect with like-minded entrepreneurs or business people. So there's a lot of different things. I have something called my form I use. I teach people. The first thing when you're at a networking event is you don't want to go up and hand a card and tell everybody about yourself. You always want to engage somebody. The F is for family. Tell me about your family. Do you have family in the area? You're not asking if someone's married or how old they are. You're asking if they have family in the area. That opens up, no, I'm here visiting on business, or, I live here. The O is for occupation. What's your occupation? Has nothing to do with what they love to do, because a lot of people are doing jobs they hate. So talk about your occupation, see where they're at. And then the R is, what do you do for recreation? You get to know somebody. Oh yeah, you like jumping out of airplanes? Me too. Oh, you like going to the library? Me too. And then the M is for mutual. Do you have any people who are mutually connected? Come to find out, oh my gosh, I know so-and-so. Oh, I've been friends with so-and-so for so many years. Let me introduce you to FORM. I'll stop there, but I cannot stress enough, there is an art to networking. Some people come in and they hit it and leave. They go around, give everybody a card. Yep. And they leave. Other people talk to one person for the whole 2 hours. That's a no-no also. And then thirdly, you've got to be consistent. You've got to go to the same events at least a handful of times to build that connection. People will do business with those they know, like, and trust. That's Prof T's quick analysis.
Thank you, Prof T. There's that simple saying, they like you, they trust you, they buy from you. It's so sad when you go to a networking event and somebody, like, you become a number to somebody, and so quick they're trying to sell you. Like, hey, you invite them to network, they try to sell all 15 people that day. Well, how do you even know I need it? How do you know that my wife isn't my real estate agent, that my wife isn't my barber, that whatever these things are? I mean, to not know somebody, and just like all these DMs we get that people are trying to sell you stuff. I mean, I guess if you just want to throw numbers at a wall, that kind of stuff works, but that relationship, there's such value in it. How about, speaking of value, how about adding value to people's lives rather than using them as a number? Just, I bet if everybody here left this room and did something for somebody, and all of a sudden in 3 months, they'd be like, I have so much business, I don't even know how I got it. Well, because you connected somebody, you did something, and it wasn't about you. Then later on, it'll be 100-fold. All right, let's keep this rolling. John, man, any of these subjects, you want to talk sales, you want to talk YouTube, somebody talk about CapCut, please. Or
I don't use CapCut. I use Movavi.
Movavi. Is it better?
I don't know. I've never used CapCut, so I couldn't tell you, but it's very easy to use and it's very cost effective. And it's an add-on. So Movavi Video Suite, I think, was $69 when I bought it 3 years ago. It's not a ton of money. I want to talk about two things. Number one, sales, and number two, also about Julie made a comment. How many authors have gotten rich off of writing books? Now, I'm not an author in a traditional sense, but I'll give you three: Stephen King, James Patterson, J.K. Rowling. Here's the difference. All three that got rich, they wrote about fiction. They told stories. As a matter of fact, J.K. Rowling's stories about Harry Potter are not even original. The backgrounds changed, but some people say it's a ripoff of Star Wars. So the point I'm getting at is they use fiction, they use storytelling to get people's attention. All right. So that's the secret to sales. So when I write, for example, I had to write an email newsletter to radio station decision makers the other day. So I have to address the points that are of interest to them, address their needs. And I've gotten that by listening and working in the field. The key to sales is listening and finding out what the needs of the consumer is. You may not be able to help them. And by the way, we do sales every day. We've been doing our whole lives. How many people sell a movie to their best friend that they're not getting paid for? Oh, you got to go see this movie. It's phenomenal. Oh, you got to check out this pizza joint. We loved it. We do sales every day. Every day. The problem is when we get into a sales arena and it becomes a business, we put unnatural pressures on ourselves, just like sticking a microphone in your face or a keyboard. All of a sudden, I got to be an authority. Here's the last thing I'll close with. And most of the people I talk to about coming on my radio show, we broadcast a 35 million combined population weekly. We estimate our audience about 2 million. That's not counting the podcast version of it. It's about your story. We promote what you do later on and throughout the show. The last half of the last segment is about building your expertise, but you've got to get people to understand your story first. That's where your power resides. That's where you get people, invite them in. That's where it's not all about you. It's about telling your story, and you're an expert on your story. And people can relate to it or not, but that's how you build value. That's at least how I do it. You'd be amazed at how many people, especially authors, say, I want to do an interview, and it's a 40-minute interview about my book, and they think it's going to happen. That's called an infomercial. That's not going to happen because I lose radio stations left and right. But you probably have a phenomenal story, and we'll tell that story together, and then we can sell a lot more books. On that, I am done. Thank you.
Yeah, man, you're spitting fire today. Love it, John. Thank you. Go on, Tom.
I was just going to say, yeah, 100% with you there, John. And I really like that. I've actually never heard somebody kind of put it in that specific term that, we sell things all the time, every day, things that we don't get paid for, we sell with ease, but the things we get paid for, all of a sudden we struggle with because we put unnatural pressure on ourselves. And I think you're 100% right about that. I love that. The other thing that popped into my head was, I'm a member of several networking groups, right? We were talking about networking before. And this is one of the things that popped in my head. There's somebody in this room actually who gave me this. My favorite like networking sort of icebreaker, because often you get people at networking events who walk around like they're doing an episode, their own individual episode of Oprah's favorite things, handing out business cards to everybody, just walking up going, you get a card, you get a card, you get a card, everybody gets a card, right? And they're not actually, getting into conversations and developing relationships. And that's what networking is all about, right? It's about developing relationships. And so I think like one of the things that I just love is this idea of, instead of walking up to somebody in a networking situation or at a networking event and asking them what they do, right? Or who they work for, just walk up and ask them ketchup or mustard. And it was in this room, it was months ago. I don't know if Dom, if you remember this conversation when we talked about it, but it really stuck in my head. But somebody was sharing that that's what they do at networking events. They walk up and they just go ketchup or mustard. And the person kind of goes, huh? And they go, ketchup or mustard? What do you put on your hot dogs? Ketchup or mustard? Right. And that's just the easiest way to get into a conversation, to learn something about somebody, to talk about. All of a sudden it opens up this world of opportunity to develop a relationship, and actually create a foundation on which you can develop a business relationship. But yeah, I mean, I think, and I think that's in a lot of ways analogous to what you're talking about, John, is that, we build relationships with people every day. We have conversations with people every day. When it comes to networking, when it comes to sales, we put this unnatural pressure on ourselves. I, so far, have been really good at taking that pressure off myself when it comes to networking. I need to practice on taking that pressure off of myself when it comes to sales. But thanks for kind of putting that in terms I could wrap my crazy little brain around. I appreciate it.
This is good stuff all around. I used to sell, when I sold insurance, I sold commercial insurance, and we sold like healthcare and stuff like that too. And we used to sell life insurance too. Life insurance is considered one of the dirtiest sells there is, because you see all these people out there that like this conception that people are like chasing ambulances and things like that. But the best, and I sold a lot of it. And the reason I sold a lot of it was because I had a manager one time. He says, Dominick, everybody needs it. All you need to do is just tell people what you do. And so I would just make sure to say I'd have golf balls or whatever we were giving away at the time. And I'd say, hey man, I'm never going to talk to you about this again, but I do this. If you need this, I do this. Here you go. That was it. That was as simple as that with the conversation. Never, ever, ever hit them up again. And so I want to go back to this networking event. So in like, I think it's, we talk about Dale Carnegie in this room, how to win friends and influence people. In how to win friends and influence people, Dale Carnegie talks about going to the event and asking, this is 100 years ago and he already got it, asking about them, asking about them, asking about them. I want to leave that conversation where they're like, I like that guy and I don't know why. I like that guy and he's interesting. I like that guy and I want to find out more about him, but he didn't even tell me what he did. That's rather than handing out those business cards 100 miles per hour and people are like, oh man, this is dirty. This is grimy. So that's my tips. I could go on this all day long. John, that was fire about the books and the selling of the books too. Now you guys got me all fired up today. So here's something I want to point out. Whether you're a podcaster, John, how many episodes of radio and podcasts have you done at this point?
Let's see. I think the podcast, I deleted about 10 or 12. We're probably about 510 episodes of podcasts and radio. It's been on radio since late 2017. And it's always grown, but it's always about creating content, number one. And then number two, really close behind is always working on discoverability. Those are two most important things.
Okay. And Tom, you said you've been in the video business 20 years, right? Why do people think that they get to jump the line? Like you put in the work, you put in the effort. Sometimes you could leave what you do and you are talking about that in another, like, so Tom, if he knows video for 20 years and then he's going to write a book about video. That is transferable. So he's using his 20 years of experience to jump into book writing. You know, John, 500 episodes and going. That's why he's so good at it. Sometimes people, whether it's sales, networking, moving books, some people, or being a podcaster, I'm going to be great on episode 1. You're not. I'm going to be great on the first book I wrote. I'm going to know how to sell it. I'm going to know how to market it. I'm going to know all these things. You're not. And then to talk about all that pressure, you're putting so much pressure on yourself. You're not ready. There's so many authors I talk to that want to go on a tour. Let's go on a podcast tour. You could do that, but you're not ready. You don't have your message in 30 seconds. Do you know what your message is? Do you know that when somebody asks you a question about politics, that you're not going to ramble on and offend half the people? When the host asks you a question about abortion, how are you going to handle that? You're going to say, well, I don't know about that, but I talk about inspiration, positivity, and smiles. When people ask you those tough questions, it takes practice. It takes time. So you don't get to jump the line. Quit trying to say, oh, why would Oprah put you on? You got 1,000 followers. You just wrote your book. You have 3 reviews on it. It's not going to happen. That's not how it works. Okay, Tom, I'm too fired up. So you got to go. You got to set us straight and then get us to Amanda and Dr. Tachi. Go on.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, like you're talking about with jumping the line, right? Like, so it'll actually be 22 years this month, 22 years this May, in production, right? About 17 years of that in the entertainment industry, and about 5 now, on my own, coming up on 5 on my own. And, you know, I get all the time people wanting to sort of, like you said, jump that line and sort of jump to, the sort of understanding production the way I understand production, that kind of stuff, right? That happens often. And, you know, it's easy. It happens easily, I think, in my field because everybody walks around with a camera in their pocket, right? Everybody has a device with them. Most people, anybody with a smartphone has a device with them that's capable of recording video these days, right? So people walk around with a camera all the time. They think, they know how to create content. And so they try to jump the line in that way. What I was going to say is, in the same way that I recommend to people that you outsource to a professional whenever you can. I followed my own voice, or my own suggestion, my own voice. I don't know what's wrong with my noggin today. I'm like jumbling words up. Anyway, I followed my own advice when it comes to outsourcing to experts. And when it came to writing my book, I didn't do it by myself, right? I didn't think, oh, well, I've got all these years of experience in production, so I can write a book, right? I have the knowledge that you need to write the book. I have the stories that you need to kind of make the lessons work and make sense, but I don't have the skill set to actually put them into a book, right? To create that form. So I was in the fortunate position of being approached by a publisher. And that's kind of what started the whole process. I had it in the back of my head that I kind of wanted to do a book. But then I was approached by a publisher, and we worked out a deal, and now I've got a book coming out in September, right? So I didn't do it by myself. I didn't assume that I would be able to do it. And I don't think other people should assume that they can, accomplish things in other fields without help. So what I'm getting at is, ask for help, right? When it comes down to it, ask for help. Whenever you're dipping out of your expertise, get a little advice, right? Just like I've asked questions in here. Dom asks questions. We talk every week. We try to surround ourselves with people who are smarter and better at these things than we are, so that we can get advice. So just don't be afraid to ask for help. It's a sign of strength, not weakness, right? So on that note, Amanda is up next in the queue, right? So Amanda, what do you got going on? Or what are your thoughts when it comes to these things? We were talking about networking. We're kind of all over the map today. We're talking about networking. We're talking about CapCut. We're talking about how do you watch YouTube. Dom wants to get back to that. So drop a tip, ask a question. The floor is yours, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think this is a perfect time for me to speak because ironically, I feel like a lot of what I do and a lot of what I've had to do throughout my career to get where I am today was pretty much jump the line. And a lot of what I do when I mentor others is literally doing just that. And part of that is helping individuals, and this was myself included, in making pivots from XYZ, whatever they're currently doing into some new field, right? So for me, long story short, I had a degree in business and marketing. Now I lead and build data science analytics teams, work with AI and machine learning, right? Not with a computer science degree. Now, granted, I've done so many courses and boot camps, and I have one master's level program. I'm doing a second master's in research. I'm doing a PhD in technology. So we can go there and say, okay, but you actually are getting some kind of training to do this stuff, right? But to get where I was, I had to take different skills. So I was like a store manager for years and, led teams in that way. But, I looked at sales reports. And so that was kind of how I got into numbers. And then I worked with buyers and planners on, markdown allowances. And then that led me to work on a recommender system at Macy's for gross margin and markdown optimization and things like that. But again, you're not going to see me say, guess what, guys? I started out straight out with a computer science degree. So I'm someone, and so I love speaking right after Dominick and Tom, because it's interesting because, again, that's kind of like what I do. And that's how I mentor others as well, because there's a lot of people trying to get into tech. We're going into like this digital society, AI, AI is the new buzzword, things like that. And how do we upskill and prep people who could have zero experience in these areas, right? How do we get them into this? And a lot of it is going to be the gift of gab. Of course, we're not lying, but there's literally skills. And I actually wrote a LinkedIn newsletter about this. I've actually spoke at 2 colleges about this. One of them being my alma mater of Penn State, about how you can take skills now. If you have that summer job and you're working at like an ice cream place, Target, whatever it is, right? Whatever you're doing, we could start transitioning those skills so that when you get out of school and you have your degree, you're not like me scrambling. I had to go back into stores. We could craft your resume to say, hey, I looked at reports, I mentored, I did X, Y, whatever it is, right? We take those skills and we package them in a way to get your foot in the door in tech. And so I think it's interesting, but one thing I will say to that is, though, and I say this a lot in your rooms before I yield the mic, is I'm also somebody that's very shy. So for me to gain the skill of this gift of gab and selling myself and helping others sell themselves was not easy. I had to overcome that. I don't have this exact thing on paper. So there's no way I'm going to get here, X, Y, Z. Well, it took me failing and never getting anywhere for a long time and being stuck in retail to learn that, guess what? I have to twist this. I have to sell this. I have to do what I have to do to get to the next level, or it's never going to happen. And that included networking, to what we're talking about, building relationships with individuals, stepping outside of my comfort zone and making, I love the ketchup and mustard thing, small talk. I'm going to use that because for somebody like myself who networking's a nightmare, that's great for one-on-one networking. But what I do is I cheat. So I do a lot of networking on LinkedIn, where I could say, oh, I saw you did this cool thing. I read up on this. I love it. I'd love to hear more. I'd love to, grab a coffee, whatever it is, but it's my way of cheating that now I can use the digital age to network. And so it's easier for me than, again, going up to people in person. But again, thanks, Tom, for sharing that. I know you said you might have stole it from someone else in the room at one point, but I love that. I'm going to use that. But anyway, I just yield with that. Again, I don't know if we have to have 20 years in a certain area of expertise. We could take what we know, again, learn how to package it in the best way possible. We could still use whatever skills we have to get ahead. So I just wanted to throw that out there, but love this room. And with that, I will yield the mic.
Thank you, Amanda. We appreciate you, and good tips as always. And yeah, that pivot was a good word of using. You have to use those skills that you've acquired to pivot. You can't just, if you don't use them, to say, well, I wrote this book. I'm not going to market it. I'm just going to put it out into the world and millions of people are going to come after it. Or I started a podcast and 1 million people are going to watch episode 1. What? Well, why? And it's just, but okay, if you pivoted and used those other skills, well, you're the world's greatest salesman, you're the world's greatest fisherman, and now you're hosting a show teaching people how to fish. Okay, I get it. All right, now this is something we do for the live streamers. Let's see what we got today, right before we go to Dr. Tachi. Here's what we got today. I'm going straight up. I'm going to pull it out of my, okay, the coolest dollar bill. This is a dollar bill that, and you look at it, I don't know how these people do this, but I mean, it doesn't even look like it's a Michael Jordan dollar bill, the greatest basketball player of all time. Anybody that wants to argue with me over, is Michael Jordan the greatest basketball player of all time, we can have another room and I will win that argument because he did it all. Shot, played defense, scored, won championships, and dunked very coolly. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. We're going to Dr. Tachi. So what do you got for us today, Dr. Tachi?
There's so much. I don't even know where to start. But good morning, everyone. So let me go with, you were asking about CapCut. I have not used CapCut yet. And that's simply because I have other tools that I already use. So use what works for you. This is very simple. Use what works for you. If you already have something that you like, not that you can't try something else, absolutely, because something else may work better. But if there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for things, or it's going to take you more time than it is to produce what you need to produce, then stay with what you have. So try out new things, but also know that what you have works. Now, for me, I use Adobe Premiere basically to edit everything, but it's not the quickest when it comes to editing, for example, things for social media. So for that, I look for other tools, default to something else. So also know what you need to do and know whether the tool may be too big for the job. Sometimes Adobe Premiere is too much. Then go for something, smaller like a CapCut or whatever. So I don't know. That's just my advice, what I have to say.
Good stuff, Dr. Chachi. I use Video Shop for the most part if I'm editing short videos on my phone. CapCut, I just tried it because it has a lot of templates, and templates, I thought, let's see if this works out. And so I'm checking out some of these templates, and it seems pretty user friendly. So that's why I jumped in. John, I was just going to ask John what the one he uses, but we will continue on. So go on, Dr. Tachi.
Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to cut, but I will say that if you are adverse to ByteDance or anything kind of adjacent to what is it called, TikTok, know that CapCut is owned by ByteDance.
So you're suggesting that it is a partner with TikTok and that kind of thing, the owner or whatever. I think that's what you're saying. Okay, I get it. Not the smartest guys in the room. Here are some of the things we were talking about. All right, this is a long list. So, and anybody, you can always drop a tip or ask a question. So that's what we really want people. If you got something you want to ask about, go ahead, ask. You got a whole room of experts here. So, nobody answered this question yet. How are you using YouTube? Meaning, do you use it differently from your television as you do your phone? So, Dr. Tachi, I'm going back to you on that one. Do you use it different? Do you even use YouTube? But do you watch YouTube on your TV?
Oh my God, I am a huge YouTube fanatic. So first of all, because my show is shown on YouTube, I like to check it out to see what it looks like on a TV, because know that people, depending on who they are going to consume your content in different ways. So if you're creating videos and you're posting them on YouTube, there's the possibility that somebody is watching it on a TV. So I always check it out to see what it looks like on a TV, because it's much different than what it looks like on a social media screen. And so I always make sure, all right, I need to bring in the margins for that a little more, because it's getting cut off on the TV, something that may not be cut off on social media, but it gets cut off on TV. So yeah, I absolutely do consume. And for me, YouTube is like, quote, TV. So there are some days where I'm not watching anything broadcast at all, and I'm solely watching YouTube because the content is so amazing. People put so much effort into these things, and it's amazing. So yes, I do. Long answer, long.
Love it. Thank you. Hey, Tom, do you use Adobe Premiere on everything you do? And is that just the standard, or?
I mean, I use the Adobe suite of products, right? So I have, because of my work and because of my business, I have access to all of the Adobe suite of products. So I use all of them. So I use Adobe Premiere, I use After Effects, I use Audition, I use Photoshop. So I use their entire suite, for the work that I do. So that's who I use. But again, I think, that suite of products is really designed for professional use by and large. There is a bit of a steep learning curve. There are very robust pieces of software, right, that do incredibly complex and difficult things. So that you have a lot of control over. They give you a lot of control over. So I wouldn't recommend them for your average user, right? Something like CapCut, or sort of like an all-in-one, a purpose-built tool that is designed to make social media content production easier for a layperson, is a better place to start than Adobe Premiere, right? Or Final Cut, right? So I would definitely say use a purpose-built tool for that kind of work if that's what you're looking to do. But yeah, and then in terms of YouTube, I don't even have broadcast TV, and I haven't for years. So I don't watch anything broadcast. Sometimes I watch some live things that are streamed online. So for example, I think most people in here know that I'm an amateur triathlete, and I do primarily long course triathlon. And I like to watch some of the incredibly fast professional triathletes compete in some of the Ironman and other races. And so I'll watch those as they stream them. So I'll watch them live, but I don't really watch any traditional broadcast television at all. I don't even have like Hulu Live or anything like that, or YouTube TV or any of the YouTube Red, I guess is what it's called now. I don't have any of that stuff. I don't have any sort of like standard live broadcast. It's just not what I'm into. But yeah, so I watch YouTube on my TV all the time, and sometimes on my phone. So it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm watching, like you were talking about, like a how-to, and it's easier for me to like take my phone with me and watch keep rewatching the video as I'm doing the thing that I'm trying to learn how to do, I'll do that on my phone. But for entertainment purposes, I almost always watch YouTube on my TV. So I know that more than answers your question, I think.
No, good. Okay,
asking about Premiere.
No, I asked about Premiere because I wondered, and we're gonna first. I'm gonna get back into Premiere, but first Debbie, then Julie, then we're going to Leslie. How are you watching YouTube, Debbie? How you watch YouTube?
I don't really watch a lot of YouTube. If I do, it's usually on my phone because I'm doing, watching a how-to or, something that's 4 or 5 minutes long. So I really don't stream it to my TV. Just use the phone.
Got it. Hey, if you guys want to watch Bikes and Hikes, it's my YouTube show. You can watch it on your TV and it looks great, or you can watch it on your phone. Julie, how you watching your YouTube? Hey, Julie, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Julie, yeah, this Julie. You. How you watching YouTube?
Oh, I don't know if that's me.
What do you do?
I wasn't looking at my screen. I just watch what I like to watch. So, I always try to support my friends, but I just kind of have my following. And then unfortunately, my kids take over my YouTube channel and mess up my feed. And I have like tons of like Mr. Beast on my YouTube feed. So
Mr. Beast is good. I like Mr. Beast. Okay. Now,
that's all I got for you.
It's Mr. Beast. It's good. It's positive. It's fun. I like the guy. Okay, Leslie, what's going on, Leslie? Leslie got a new picture. What do you got going on, Leslie, my dear friend? Share a tip, ask a question. What do you got for us, Leslie?
Tip, well, YouTube, I watch on my laptop. Now that I'm streaming on YouTube, I try to really get more involved with supporting my community of people. And when it comes to just a quick share, sometimes you have to jump out of that comfort zone of connecting and collaborating, maybe spending a little money on trying to get your word out there. For me, I just had that photo shoot over the weekend in Philadelphia with this incredible photographer. I was using my phone for my photos, but as I'm getting my word out, as I'm doing more lectures and really packaging myself, sometimes, after 3 years of me just working hard at this business of mine, I had to take that leap of faith. But through that, I met some incredible people, great contacts, and now I'm going to be written up in Philadelphia Magazine for the womenpreneurs, the solopreneurs out there, really making changes in the community in mental health and wellness. So that is my share.
Good stuff. And I like this tip of the professional photographer too. So tell me, you don't have to, what does a professional photographer for headshots? How long, how many pictures? I see some of my friends that get them and they're like running and they look spectacular. Or they're at their chair in their office. It's amazing. So obviously, Leslie, we'll check out the pictures that you had, but give us some tips on selecting a photographer, or how do you know what pictures to use?
It's really word of mouth. I saw some really amazing shots. I love the way that this photographer really brought the true essence of who we are. And a good friend of mine is very instrumental in doing a lot of work in the Philadelphia area, had this great headshot. And I texted her and I said, hey, who was a photographer, and she gave me 3 photographers in the area. And the first one I called, and I looked at his portfolio. I went on his website, and it just resonated with me. And so it was 4 hours of me in 4 different outfits. And the one is an equestrian outfit where I'm literally with my crop and my whole getup, with just putting that into what I'm presenting about optimal health and wellness. And so, and just that you can live, 100% and optimally in midlife. So it was a great experience. And through that, I've met so many other people through the community that they are connected with. So yeah, it was definitely a win-win.
Okay, good tips. Yeah, I'm jealous of a lot of people's fancy pictures. So these ones of me where it's weird backgrounds and tassel caps on, maybe I got to ditch those pictures. All right, Heather, we're coming to you. Heather, I got a question that came up earlier. So Tom uses Adobe Premiere. I use Adobe Premiere. I tried it. I sucked at it. I went back to what I was like these video shop and my basic editors for me. But can you charge somebody for a video if you don't use Adobe Premiere? Is everything else juvenile? So Heather, I'm coming to you. You got to answer all those questions. Go on.
So Adobe Premiere is for video editing, right? Is that what I'm hearing here?
Yeah, that's what I think it's for. That's what I used it for. Yep, go on.
So I use CapCut because I'm creating social media content all day long. So like right now I'm in Canva creating like a vertical graphic, I guess, and then I'm gonna throw it over to CapCut. And then I'm gonna go take it over to Captions app, and then I'm going to download it and then upload it to my phone. So CapCut is easier for me. Plus, they have a ton of templates, like you said, Dominic. I love the templates because if I need a video on the fly, also they have trending sounds and music. I also use Mojo, that's Mojo, and that has a lot of different templates as well. Trending sounds, trending videos for real estate agents, videos for food, blog posts, podcasts. I mean, you name it. They have so many reels and TikTok templates over there. So those are the 2 I use. I use CapCut and Mojo. I don't use Adobe Premiere because I hate being on my computer. I'm allergic to my computer. I try to only spend maybe an hour or 2 a day on the computer. And I do most of my work on my phone anyway. So yeah, CapCut for sure.
Okay, and Tom gave me a look when I asked about like charging somebody for. So what I meant is, like, let's say you're making up videos. Like, is there some industry standard, or is it just like, hey, Heather's videos look good and they're done with CapCut? It doesn't matter.
Well, here's the thing. It really depends on the person's if the person knows how to create dynamic looking videos. I mean, you could use Adobe, but your editing skills suck. You don't have any creativity behind it. So, the person over there that's only been doing video editing for a year, they could charge. Sure, they could use CapCut. I use CapCut and I charge for my video graphic services. But the thing is that I've been doing this for so long that all of mine are like so incredibly unique and like creative. Like right now I'm creating a typography video for somebody who already has videos that they use on social media, but they want to repurpose it. So I'm creating typography videos that educate on a specific topic. So yeah, I charge. I mean, that's part of my social media packages is, if you want video included, you're going to be charged for that. So, but at the same time, if you're creating like a long form video, then like obviously those services are going to be higher. It just depends on what type of video you're creating. But yeah, like if you want to become a videographer and create, edited videos for clients, like totally use whatever apps and software that you like and that you like to use and that you're good at to do so.
Heather, I see Tom smiling, so we'll let Tom go. Go on, Tom.
I mean, look, I think here's what the question boils down to, right? Are you providing a service? Is there a value attached to the service that you're providing? And does it take time for you to do that? Right. And if the answers to all three of those questions are yes, then abso-fucking-lutely you get to charge for it. It doesn't matter what software you're using. Right. Like that's the way I look at it. It's that simple. Are you providing a service? Is there value associated with that service for the client? And does it take time to do? Right. And if the answer is yes, then yes, you get to charge. You should be charging. You should get compensated for that value, for that service, and for that time.
So here's what I want to know. Can you send all the, like, let's say in Adobe Premiere, I can send 900 different file types to somebody. You want to put it on the moon, you can do that. Sometimes, let's say I make I'm going to look on my phone here. Let's see one of these video shops, one I use from my phone. So, well, video shop, you can't send as many ways. You like download it to your phone and it might be too large to even email sometimes. So Heather, do you run into those kind of issues, or am I just like,
so I mean, I have such a close relationship with my clients though, that like sometimes I'll just like text them the videos if they need it. But I'll upload them to a Google Drive and then share the Google Drive with the client. Or I'll just upload it straight to social media and then send them the link. And then if they need to download it without a watermark, I send them a website where they just copy and paste the link into it, and then it downloads the video.
There's a bunch of tools that you can use to get around that kind of issue, Dom. So like you can use like Heather said, you can use Google Drive, you can use Dropbox, right? Both of those are really easy ways to upload something directly from your phone that's too big to email or too big to text, right? The problem with texting is depending on what you're trying to deliver to the client, your phone will compress the file to be able to send it via text, right? And you don't really get any sort of authorship over the level of compression or how big the file it actually is. So I would say, definitely like Google Drive, Dropbox, like those are kind of your best bets, I think, in terms of like file sharing from your phone. And then another way to do it too is to use a service like Vimeo. These are all kind of paid services that I'm talking about. You have to have accounts and you have to pay a little bit every month to have access to these to be able to share files on a kind of a scale that you would need for business. But, there's a product like Vimeo, right, where you can upload a video, make it private, and make it downloadable for your client. Share the link with them. They can go right to it. They can download the video. You can also share files directly through Vimeo with clients. So that's another way to do it too. But yeah, there's a bunch of different. There's always a way around, right? There's always a different path to take to solve a problem like that. So.
Okay. No, and this is just my confusion from it. Let's say I was loading them to Google Drive and then I was just struggling to get them back off my phone or back off the computer to put them somewhere else, and so that's what, all these questions are things where I'm like, well, like, let's say me, I make a lot of videos. I make a lot of videos for people. I never think about that I should be charging, or that I probably do think that, but that I should add, I'm going to make you X amount of videos and it's going to be this amount of dollars. It's probably a good idea since I'm making the videos anyway. So, okay, not the smartest guys in the room. Tom, what we haven't talked about lately that gets people worked up? Chat GPT. Who's using it? Who's using it right now? Who used it this week?
I use it every single day, every day.
Is it to check, or are you just looking because you get mass content from it?
I'm utilizing it to create content, blogs, hashtag strategy, basically, yeah, all that fun stuff.
You feel like, do we need to, like, every time I use it, do I need to say that this is created by Chat GPT, or is it created by Chat GPT?
I don't say that it's created by Chat GPT because I go in and I double check everything, and there's obviously going to be edits. So the first round is ChatGPT, sure, but then the second round is me going through and adding that human element, hashtags, all of that stuff. But my prompts are so specific that because my prompts are so specific in what I'm trying to accomplish, that it literally sounds like me now because they are that specific for each prompt that I do.
Got it. Anybody else? Are you using Chat GPT in this room, and how are you using it? No flashes. Okay, interesting. Well, so Dr. Tachi, how are you using it?
I'm experimenting with it. I haven't really started using it for anything serious yet, but I am experimenting with it, and I actually used it to create a prompt to put into an AI image generator to see what I get, and yeah, AI is not there yet. It's there partially for text, but for images, it's not there yet. They need some help, but it is useful for, you can ask ChatGPT the most effective way to ask it something or prompts to put into other AI generators. So it's useful in that sense.
Okay, good stuff, Dr. Tachi. So I used it to create some articles, like content creation. Like I was looking the other day, I wanted 10 motivational quotes for Monday morning, because we share inspiration 24/7. Well, I wanted them to say Monday in it, so then I could go back. They were just 10 inspirational quotes. But next week, I'm going to go back and say 10 inspirational quotes using the word Monday in the quotes, and in 10 seconds, it comes up with something. So some days I'll be like, 10 tips why you should self-publish your book, 10 tips for sharing your message, just basic right now. Then I have a writing partner that I argue with a lot, and we use it to solve third-party debates when nobody else is in the coffee shop or wherever. If we go to different coffee shops and we get up and act out stuff that we're writing, and then we have to talk to each other, and we'll say, would somebody say LOL? When you write LOL, would you say LOL? Would you how laugh out loud, LOL? We have all these things that we'll just be arguing, and then we'll ask Chat GPT whatever question it is, and they will guide us. Anybody else trying it out, testing it out? Thomas.
I've played with it. I haven't really used it for anything work related, but I've played with it. So in one of the networking groups that I'm in, I every week I do a little sort of networking education sort of piece, which is usually just like a little minute or two of just some tips, tricks, thoughts, processes, what have you on networking, and how to be more effective at it. And I've used Chat GPT a couple of times in the past to sort of help spur some thoughts on that, but I've really used it more as like a prompting device for myself. One of the issues that I think is still glaring with Chat GPT is accuracy. Right? You have to be careful if you're using it to test or provide proof of something or provide evidence for something. You have to be careful and double check its work, because ChatGPT is not good at telling the difference between fact or fiction. It will just look for whether or not something agrees with or disagrees with what you're saying. Right? So it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It'll look for something that either supports what you're suggesting or refutes what you're suggesting, without actually verifying whether or not that thing is true. So if you use ChatGPT for any of those kinds of things, make sure you check its work, because it very easily could find misinformation and use it as fact. Right? It could use falsehoods, and even I think there have been tests where they've found it using works of fiction as support for an argument. So just something to bear in mind when it comes to that kind of stuff. But it's a really interesting tool, and I have nothing against it. And I've played with it, and I will continue to play around with it. But yeah, like any other tool, like you have to be smart about how you use it.
I agree, man. And I think like I just keep testing and seeing like, oh, is there value here? How could I find value in it? Meaning how can I utilize this tool just like a TikTok, just like a Google, just like the camera on our phone? Well, these are tools. And how does this tool help me? Can I use it? Well, I don't just take a picture of everything I see. I don't just spend all day on Google taking everything as fact. Can I use this piece, this bit of information to make things like if I wanted 10 tips, okay, 10 this or that, or okay, best pizza places in New York City. I'm going to New York. Maybe I want to find 10 pizza places, well, they might not be the best pizza places. Same as Google. I could Google 10 best pizza places. What's interesting about Tom's point on ChatGPT, you could ask the same question and then just put a not in instead of give me the worst superhero movies, the best please take these 10 movies and tell me why they're terrible. And they could do that because you are putting in the things you want them to search and find, as Tom pointed out. So, okay, not the smartest guys in the room. We talked ChatGPT. We talked CapCut. We talked how people are using YouTube. Tom, do we got to talk about anything else today? What else is on the agenda? Or are we wrapping it?
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know that I have anything specific on my agenda. I mean, let's open it up. Let's see if Amanda or Dr. Tachi or Leslie have something else that they want to talk about. Let's give them a run. And if not, then, I guess we close up. It was funny, we were back channel kind of chatting back and forth. Right. And it's one of those things. It was like, oh, maybe we'll close the room early today. And it's just funny that, for us, early is like less than 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But because sometimes we go 2 full hours and sometimes even longer than that. So yeah, but anyway, I say let's open it up to Amanda, Dr. Tachi, or Leslie and see what their thoughts are if they have any things they want to talk about.
Sure thing. And Carrie and Ching, if you want to come up, Ching, I'm trying to email Ching. I can't get in. I'm going to back channel Ching right after, see if we can back channel. But Amanda, Dr. Tachi, Leslie, and like Tom said, is there anything that we should touch base on? Go on.
I just want to say sorry, Amanda.
No, please, Dr. Tachi, I'll go after you.
Well, this is just a quick thing that I've discovered. Sometimes you have to pay for things for it to get things right, if that makes sense. I think we are so in the land of free and cheap that sometimes you don't want to pay for things. And I'm a member of the free and cheap club. Don't get me wrong. But one thing I discovered is that, there are a lot of people that don't want to pay for licensing for music and things like that because they just don't want to. I mean, that's part of the reason that we can't use a lot of the songs that we want to use on some of these platforms. But in, getting ready now to start my own platform, and I just went and got licensed so we can play music, I'm like, okay, it's not that expensive. Let's stop being cheap for it and let's pay. And of course, it depends on who you're using and that type of thing. But at the bottom line is sometimes you need to do things right, and other people need to get paid for what they do. So just pay the damn money. That's my thought for the day.
Pay the money. Good one. Amanda, what do you got for us? Go on.
Yeah, so I'm glad, Dr. Tashi, you went before me because that's something I actually just saw last week. So one thing I mentioned was I mentor others, right, for taking classes. So one of the first things I say to people is, what's your cost benefit ratio, right? Because I'm someone who didn't have any money for a long time and I had to be an adult learner, blah, 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 right? So I had to find the cheap way out of things and what have you. But then as I actually made a little bit of money, I was actually able to pay for more formal educations, things like that I could actually pay for stuff, right? And it's interesting because I almost see people that, again, with this cost benefit ratio, that might not be able to afford, are more willing to take a risk and put themselves out there and pay for something to better themselves than I'm seeing people that actually, you know, might have some cash to throw around. And that actually happened. I just took a course this past week. And for some it was a little pricey, but the point was the network you've gained and the knowledge you gained to me was absolutely priceless. I mean, they could have put any price tag on this thing and I was paying it, like with no questions asked. And so to your point, it's like when you have something that's quality, you know, it's going to help better yourself. You know, again, the network to me is priceless. You know, you do this cost benefit ratio and you put yourself out there and you do it. And to that point, I see a lot of people, you know, at a certain point, they're like, well, I'm never paying for anything ever again. And it's kind of like, well, you know, if you don't have it, I get it. But if you do have it and it can push you ahead, why not? But I do understand, before I yield the mic, this continuous learning that we have to go through, and this is all of us, right? Because in the digital age, we're all stuck in this together. So whether you want to learn or upskill on anything, it might come to the point, like, look at our cell phones. We're forced to, you know, use smartphones, which, by the way, I didn't want a smartphone, but anyway, another topic. So it's like we're kind of all forced our hands into this stuff, right? But anyway, so I love that, Dr. Tashi, because I literally just went through that this past week. And with that, I'll yield the mic.
Thank you, Amanda. Good points. How many things, I'm just thinking as you're talking, how many things one person pays for that another one won't, where somebody says, I need to have a $5,000 bike. I need to have this $10,000 camera. I need to have these Louis Vuitton purses or whatever. Why does somebody see this as expensive and somebody sees something else as expensive, right? Somebody sees course, educating themselves. Well, that's the best investment. You're spending it on yourself. Well, then somebody else would say that, well, that's, why would I spend that on me? I could spend 6 years on YouTube. I could bootstrap. So let's continue the conversation. Not the smartest guys in the room. Ching, what's new with Ching? How, you got a tip for us, a video making tip for us, Ching? Or would you like to ask these wonderful people a question? What's going on?
Hi, Dominic. Hi, Tom. Hi, Amanda, Doctor, and Leslie and John. Thank you. Great to see you. Tip on video or on YouTube. I have a pretty active YouTube channel. Now that YouTube, I think the last 3 or 4 months or even 6 months, they categorize like the way that you open somebody's YouTube channel. Is like home and then videos and shorts, and after that is live. After that is actually podcast. After that is playlist, the podcast. So seems like they're very pushing shorts, and also they also let us to categorize our live sessions as podcasts. Very interesting. So I have done 226 podcasts and live interviews, or sometimes I talk by myself if I don't have a guest with me, on YouTube. And so that's very long form. And Tom was on my program. It was very long form. And also, I think it's a good idea to do shorts. So I did shorts for like 6 weeks. Every day I post one short. But on shorts, I only do music because I'm a filmmaker, but I'm also a musician. So instead of having 2 or 3 channels, I just do everything in one place. And shorts, only music. And then video is all over the place. And live, and it's all about live interview or live. So that's a little bit, but I do see my subscription going up because shorts. Yeah. So.
Ching, I agree on the shorts thing. I'm seeing the same thing as well. Hey, Ching and John, since you guys have both mentioned this, so your lives, are you suggesting that the live that you upload can also be uploaded as a podcast, or does it do that automatically, or how's that work?
Are you asking me or John?
I'm asking you, Ching, and then then we'll go to John. He usually knows about the kind of stuff too.
So let me understand. you can you say it again?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
so let's say like me and Tom are live streaming right now. I'm looking at Tom's smiley face. I'm smiling. I'm making dancing moves, whatever. So if can't when like it stay like this show, this room, whatever, will automatically go into my YouTube under live stream. Is there a way to move it to podcast, or is that goofy? Because you'd say, well, this isn't a podcast because we're sitting here looking at each other. I don't know. So that's my question. Not very clear. Probably a lot of questions, Ching, but weigh in.
Okay, so when you say podcast, is podcast that you have a podcast account, like say Apple or a podcast, right? Just the audio on internet, right?
Uh,
When you say podcast, you're not talking about podcast category on YouTube.
hmm. Okay, so I get what you're saying. So you're saying if there is a podcast somewhere else, then you can upload it to YouTube.
No. I didn't say that. When you say, can you use your live on YouTube to a podcast? When you say that podcast, does that mean that it's the podcast? Say you have account, you have podcast, just the audio podcast. Because I consider YouTube like my type of podcast is not real podcast. They just say it's a podcast. I think because YouTube want to extend their foot into the podcast world right now. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's what I was asking. So I was trying to get some explanation on how that process works.
Yeah, you just have. I think not everybody has an icon of podcast. I was told on your YouTube channel. Check yours. I don't know what's the threshold for that, but it just popped on my what do you call home page of YouTube channel, which is Jewel Media. It's right there, and then in the playlist, I make a playlist called Ching's Podcast, right? So I just did that. So I put everything I did live onto that playlist. And somehow my playlist just linked to podcasts on my YouTube. So I don't know. I don't think I set up that. So it's a YouTube thing.
Got it. Go on, John. What do you got? You got answers for us?
Right back. Yeah, I don't do live, but here's what you need to understand. When YouTube says podcast, that's part of YouTube Music. It's not part of the YouTube platform. You can put stuff in YouTube Music and it'll show up on your YouTube channel, but not necessarily, from what I understand, the other way around. So if you and Tom have the audio or video saved, you would import that. You have to create a playlist that's going to be a designated podcast. So it could be not the smartest guys in the room with your playlist podcast. And then you have a channel in YouTube Music where your podcast will reside. It could be video or audio. People can play both, or they can just select audio only. But you have to, from what I understand, you have to upload it separately to that playlist. Because when you create, like you got to create in YouTube, upload videos, and then you select your file, and then it's going to ask you where it resides. And in there, you're going to have the option for your playlist, which is your podcast in YouTube Music. And I hope that explains it a little bit better. I'm not extremely proficient in it, but I've been in YouTube Music since it launched, and so far it's been a non-game changer.
It sounds like the suggestion here, or what we're getting to, is that I need to get my shit together and actually start turning these into actual podcast episodes, right? Because we do the live stream, but we have the recordings of them. Dom and I have actually recorded an intro. I've got some ideas for music. So now I need to actually find the time and do a little bit of editing every week and turn these into podcast episodes and kick them out on podcast networks and on
that's what I would do.
YouTube
and
Music.
Here's the reason why: because you're creating the content, and the content it takes a certain amount of time to create. You really can't speed that up. However, if you can use that in multiple platforms and get exposure to a wider audience without increasing your workload dramatically, why not? If you've got the audio or the video already recorded, you got to put an intro on it and a close, whatever it might be. That's other stuff. So I would take the audio, I would create an audio podcast, use like Omni Studio, Libsyn, or one of them, get it on audio, get it on Apple, Spotify, Google, all the other ones, and then do the same thing with YouTube Music podcast division, and see if you can increase exposure already. Because you and Dominic are already creating the content. That's the hardest part, and that's the most time-consuming part. The rest is just a few minutes for the audio podcast. You put the audio on it, and the video one you can just load that up separately, but you got to have it saved.
Yeah, I mean that's on the technical side, that's relatively easy to do. I actually have to just get around to doing it, but I've got literally a year's worth of us doing this recorded, that we could, if I got my shit together and like actually did a little bit of editing on, basically I'm going to create, a template intro, outro, and then just let it play in the middle. Yeah, we could have like 60 or 70 episodes of this, kind of up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and here's what I would do, and I'll land really quickly after this. For Apple, one of the best ways to really explode in growth is to become in their new and notable section. Now, not a lot of podcasters do that. One of the best ways to do that, Tom and Dominic, is you got a bunch of content. Release Apple with like 10 or 15 episodes, so that you've got content, and then you got stuff in the can you can release every week. But that way you have 10 or 15 different episodes people can binge listen to and really spike your numbers and hopefully appear in the new and notable charts. And if you do, you should have rapid growth. But it's awfully hard to do with just one episode. That's why it's recommended to do at least 4 or 5, if not 10. And since you got so much available already, and I'm not saying this is a negative, spend the time, create the audio portion of it. You already got it there. And then don't release until you have 10 or 15 episodes up there. And then start releasing 1 or 2 a week afterwards.
Gotcha. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. So I guess I got to get my shit together, Dom, huh?
Hey, well, we got to figure out something, man. We got to get a plan together. Always have a plan, right? You can't just go willy-nilly all the time. You gotta have a plan, and we will make a plan, and then we'll work that plan. All right, this is not the smartest guys in the room. It's 10:57. We are out like the gout. I used to sell a gout drug. So yeah, gout, I don't know. When I was in pharmaceuticals, sorry, I sold one drug for neurology, for epilepsy one time, and then I sold a drug that was for what was it? It was gold for rheumatoid arthritis, and then I had a gout drug. Those were the drugs that I sold in pharmaceuticals. Not that you needed to know that, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It gave me time for Tom to think about what he's going to close with today. So that's all I got left. Now we'll go to Tom. What do you got, Tom?
Dominic, can I interrupt? Do you have a happy pill?
A happy peel. No, I retired from that. I hated it. I ever tell you guys that one year I was up on stage, like getting an award, and I was sitting up there and I was thinking, and there was like a picture of me like doing a Tough Mudder or something. And it was like, Dominic did this, had this year. And I'm thinking to myself up on that stage, I hope I'm not here in a year. And I was trying to follow my passion and can get to a point where I could take that leap of faith, and that's where I'm at today. A couple years later, I'm there. So that's all I got, Tom. Go on, my friend.
Thanks, Tom. Well, you bought me just enough time to think of something. I had no idea what I was going to say, honestly, about 30 seconds ago when you were like, hopefully that gave Tom enough time. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say, but here's where I am. So I was in a meeting the other day, and we were kind of posed a question, right? Kind of a conversation starter. And the question was, if you could be doing anything, if money was no object, like not an issue, right? And you could be doing anything, right, with your time, what would you be doing if you, and here was the kind of twist that I missed the first time I read it. The first time I read that question, immediately my answer was, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now. Right. That was the first thought that went through my head. But then I saw on the end of that question that it was, if you weren't doing what you're doing right now. Right. But but I actually, instead, I want to focus on sort of my gut reaction, right? My gut reaction to that question was, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now. And I thought that, and immediately was like, that's all the validation I need to know that I'm on the right path. Right. And it's something I would encourage everybody to try to do, to try to find that thing that you would do even if you didn't get paid for it. That thing that you would do because that thing that you would do, and then find a way to get paid for it, but that thing that you would do regardless of money, right? Be the thing that you do for the love of it, right? For the joy that it brings other people, for the joy that it brings you, for the fulfillment that you get from doing that work, from helping other people, right? I mean, it's the reason why I think of this thing that Dom and I do every Wednesday morning, right? Not the smartest guys in the room, where we surround ourselves with all these amazing, brilliant people every week. I think of this as work the same way I think of the work for my clients as work, because I get the same enjoyment out of it. I get to help people, right? By being part of the team that creates this every week, but I also get to learn. And those are like my two favorite things in the world to do, right? Is to help people and to learn. And so I get to do that through the very specific lens of my video production work and through my company, right? But what I would encourage everyone here to do is find the thing that you would do, regardless of whether or not you got paid for it, and then run full steam ahead towards it. And that's all I got for this week. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Really appreciate you guys. Love you guys. You are the reason why we do this. Thank you all for your wisdom, for your thoughts, and for sharing your time with us. We really appreciate you. And we will see you here next Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Speaking for myself and Dom, we are not the smartest guys in the room, and we hope you guys join us again and bring some wisdom to the plate. Until then, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tom.